Aiyuk is a Steeler. Let's just call it what it is. Said it yesterday. It's just the worst kept secret going right now.
Obviously, as a former teammate, or teammate of his in general.
Don't know what the holdup is. Call it a conspiracy, but part of it, maybe most of it, has to do with the dog Ricky on Twitter and the so-so 49ers reporter with only like 8,000 followers dropping the news a couple days ago, and the patriarchy, the mainstream, the status quo didn't want them to be ahead of the story, so they've dragged it out and have been giving conflicting reports all over the place just to make it seem like those two accounts weren't on top of it before everyone else. I guess you could even throw CT ESPN in the mix. Call it a conspiracy, but I don't know. Seems like that could be the case. You also had Josina Anderson, who was, I believe, the first person or one of the first people to say that the Steelers were out of it. Tweet yesterday that the Steelers are very much in it, and the Patriots are actually the most recent team that's out of it. So that leaves Steelers and the Browns, and I guess Aiyuk could go back to the 49ers. But what have we said the whole time? Aiyuk has leverage. Aiyuk has some say in this. He doesn't want to go to the Browns. He wants to be a Steeler. And I think at this point, we can be pretty certain to say he doesn't want to be a 49er anymore. Now it just comes down to compensation. What are the Steelers giving up? And it seems like Omar has been holding his ground and not giving up anything too valuable that would screw us over. So here's hoping it's a second-round pick and a player not named Pickens or Freiermuth. I think that's what we're holding out hope for right now. Dan Moore makes sense. James Daniel, I wouldn't prefer because he's actually going to be starting for us. Like Dan Moore, sooner rather than later, is eventually going to be taking a seat on the bench. Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu, that's our future at the offensive tackle position, and potentially the now. I mean, we've been getting Troy Fautanu some serious reps over at right tackle recently. So Dan Moore becomes the expendable one. I would like to keep him around for depth, but if that's what it takes to get Brandon Aiyuk, that makes a ton of sense to me. Or a Calvin Austin. Because if we're bringing in Brandon Aiyuk, you got Pickens, Aiyuk, Van Jefferson, a Roman Wilson we just drafted. The wide receiver room gets a little bit busy. And Calvin Austin then becomes expendable. I mean, he's borderline expendable right now because we're talking about him as like our third or fourth receiver. Like, he's still vying for a roster spot. I do think he makes it. I just did my 53-man roster projection video last week, and I think he does make it for sure. But it's not like he's this guarantee as a top 2 or 3 target in this offense right now. Bringing in Brandon Aiyuk, he would fit that bill exactly. Next, we got some news on the Steelers depth chart and also who is in and who is out for the Steelers' first preseason game. So the depth chart, if you look at it right here, not many surprises. We got Russ in at QB1. Tomlin has been saying this whole time that he's got the pole position, and even though he hasn't been fully practicing in training camp, that hasn't changed. But he is going to be out for the Steelers-Texans preseason game, most likely as a precaution because of the calf injury he's been dealing with these first couple weeks. But again, that just opens the door even more for Justin Fields, especially if Fields balls out in this game against the Texans. Other things to note on this depth chart, Beanie Bishop in the starting slot. We've been hearing all the reports on him that he's been showing out at that position. We've been giving him the 1 reps, and he's been taking advantage. So good for him. It'd be really nice if we can have an undrafted rookie free agent be our starting slot corner and feel like we're not missing a beat at all. That would be really, really nice. Almost too good to be true, but Beanie Bishop is hitting every benchmark along the way in his rookie training camp. So shout out to him. Troy Fautanu, Broderick Jones, and Dan Moore, those 3 at the tackle spot, that configuration, looks like we're sticking with the status quo. Dan Moore at left tackle, Broderick Jones at right tackle, giving the veterans the tip of the cap there. But as I said just a few minutes ago, Troy Fautanu has been getting some serious reps at right tackle. And if Dan Moore is included in this Brandon Aiyuk trade, then yeah, Fautano is going to be elevated to starting right tackle, and Broderick Jones is going to be kicked out to left. Other thing to note, I guess, would just be Nick Herbig. They got starting over Zach Frazier at center, but that's what it's been this whole training camp. I wasn't calling for it. I want Zach Frazier to be starting week 1, but if the team doesn't think he's ready, what can you do? But I do think he's ready. Is it just that he has to earn it throughout the course of this training camp? Okay, so be it. But it looks like he's been getting better and better as camp's gone on. And that's no shot at Herbig. It's just that we drafted Zach Frazier to be our starting center, our franchise center. He has way more experience than a Herbig at the position. I feel like it's just meant to be. He should be our starting center, even though he is a rookie. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what he looks like in preseason. We'll see what Herbig looks like too. But yeah, Herbig, he's been getting the center reps. Wasn't expecting that, but hey. And I guess, yeah, let's finish it up with the people that aren't going to be playing in that Steelers-Texans game. I already mentioned Russ. You also got 6 other veterans: Isaac Seumalo, Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Patrick Queen. Good. Makes sense. I don't think we need to see any of these guys in the preseason. Can anyone make a valid case as to why we should see these guys out there? No. Especially Highsmith, too. He just went down with a groin injury yesterday. That's a bummer. I don't think we should see him for the rest of training camp, all the way up to week 1. He's got to get his rest in and, yeah, got to get ready for the regular season, because that injury can be nagging at times. Not at times. It typically is a nagging injury. So, yeah, you want Highsmith as best to 100% as possible when the regular season comes around. So, no reason to have him out there, particularly for a preseason game, or probably for the majority or the rest of this training camp, to potentially tweak it. But that's it, really, for today's show. We're still on Aiyuk watch, but as I said in the beginning, it seems like the worst kept secret. Aiyuk's going to be a Steeler. It's just, what are the Steelers going to be giving up to get him? Because adding Aiyuk to the Steelers, I think that's something we can all agree on is going to be a good thing. But what swings a reaction from being positive to negative is if we give up too much, or, yeah, what it cost to get him was just a little bit too pricey. But that's it. That's all we're waiting for right now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay chilling on a Wednesday. Peace.